Welcome, Astroneers. I'm Sherman, and today I bring you a Let's Play of Astro Colony. And we're going to go ahead and start the beta, and we're going to use the presets here. Now, Astro Colony is a lot like Satisfactory, where you're building construction chain lines, crafting chains, things like that, to automate your building of resources, or automate your collection and building of resources. Now, this is Abot. Abot is going to lead us somewhat through how to play the game. It's a great idea to follow the bot if you are new. It will help you get a lot of the basics down. Welcome, colonizer. I am Abot. I have been programmed to guide you in learning. Follow my advice and start creating your Astro Colony. Of course, we've got WASD to move around, we got space to jump, and jetpack is on X. To expand your space station, you'll need to collect some basic resources. We're going to get our basic resources from these asteroids that are floating around. So I'm going to turn my jetpack on. You don't have to worry about your tools running out of durability. There's no crafting of new tools. You don't have to worry about your jetpack running out. You can use those freely. So we're just going to smack on a couple asteroids here. The one we just hit gave us copper. This one's going to give us iron. The other thing that smacking asteroids gives us is basic science. You'll see that pop up in the middle here shortly. Maybe. There we go. So we get a little basic science, and we're going to use that for research. So now that we have some of our basic ores, it's time to turn materials into something more sophisticated. So we're going to open our inventory with I. We got our recipe button here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on iron bars and copper bars for now to automatic, which means every time I get ore, it's automatically going to craft it into bars. Now you can set this up where, let's say I just want 1 bar, I can turn it on and it will turn off once it's completed. For now, I'm going to go ahead and turn these on automatically because I don't have any machines that are going to do it better. Now let's deal with the basic needs of breathing. You may have noticed that your oxygen level dropped slightly during the first task. Our oxygen meter is down on the bottom left. You can see that it's kind of grayed in, and the top of it is ungraying, which means we're down a little bit of oxygen. Of course, when that level reaches 0, we can suffocate. And we're going to need some ice and an oxygen generator to get our oxygen. So what we want to do is we want to go to our tech screen, which is T. And we're going to go ahead and research oxygen. And Abot wants us to go ahead and build an oxygen generator. Now at the bottom of the screen, you can see we've got F1, F2, F3, F4, all these hotbars that they have preset with some of our build options once we have them unlocked. And so I'm going to go ahead and push 1 on my number keys, and that acts as our oxygen generator. You got R for rotate, which you can see on the right side of the screen. Now this arrow, green arrow, is input. The electric bolt is electricity, and the water is water. I'm going to go ahead and set this guy. Oh, apparently we don't have enough resources yet. So let's grab another asteroid real quick. This is a small one, should get us enough. And I actually needed copper, not iron. And I'm not seeing a copper asteroid. Let's go underneath here. There we go. Now, when the asteroids hit the platform, they do explode, but they don't cause any damage to your machines or anything like that that you've built. They just pop and you can't mine them. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this guy. I need some ice for this oxygen generator. Grab this real quick. You also don't have fall damage in Astro Colony, so feel free to pretty much just turn off your jetpack and drop in wherever you need to. I'm gonna go ahead and place this guy right here. Got a little bit of an idea of where I want to put things. Oh, I got ice a little early. Abot wants me to extract some ice now. Now, this asteroid, you can see on the right side, it tells us what's in it. This one's got iron and ice. The colors of the asteroids will help you a bit with what's in it. Sometimes the colors can be a little confusing, but generally blue is going to be ice. Your copperish color, of course, is going to be copper. But as you can see, that one's got some iron in it. And then your black ones are going to be your carbon or coal. Now, with your oxygen generator, there's two ways you can fill up. If you have ice in your inventory, like we do currently, you can just walk up to it and push F a few times to fill up. The other option is you can hit E to go into the machine, open up its inventory, just drop the ice in there. It helps get it out of your inventory, and then you can just use this button right here. Now, electricity is at the heart of many devices. They work as long as there is enough electricity for them in the network. If they cannot produce or consume, they signalize a lightning bolt. Let's go ahead and build a carbon reactor. All right, so we're going to need to research electricity. And we've got our lovely carbon reactor. I'm going to go ahead and turn that guy around so the input is facing this way. And I'm going to smack him down right there. Now, Abot wants us to stick some coal into the carbon reactor. I do not believe I have coal yet. Nope. So let's look at this guy just hanging out right on top for us, making it nice and easy. Now, as soon as I throw this coal in, it's going to start producing electricity. Oh, no, they actually fixed that. So it looks like it doesn't start producing until you start drawing on it. So that's pretty nice. You used to have to go in and turn this off just so it didn't start eating up all of your carbon. To provide electricity to devices, you need electric cables made out of copper wire. You can handcraft them directly in your inventory. So we actually can't yet. We need to go ahead and research handcrafting. And as you can see on the left-hand side, the quest wants us to go ahead and craft 2 copper wire. Now, it says 2 copper wire, but what it actually means is 2 sets of copper wire, because they actually make 3. Because as you see, when this one completes, it says 1 out of 2. So it actually technically wants us to craft 6 copper wire. Yay, you've mastered this technology. So now Abot is going to stay with no quest until we unlock some more technology. So you really want to make sure that you're kind of unlocking one at a time. I've got 11 points of basic science right now. So I could hit this guy, which takes 5. I could hit this guy, which takes 4. And I could just keep adding these up. The problem is Abot's going to give us a quest pretty much for each of these technologies that we unlock. In some cases, he won't. So it's best if you are new to the game, just make sure you unlock one at a time. And that way, Abot can tell you exactly how to use it. So in this case, he wants us to go ahead and build an asteroid catcher. Now, I need some resources to do so, so give me just a few minutes and I will get that all collected. All right, so I went ahead and it only took about 5 minutes. I've collected up 20 iron bars, 10 copper, not as much copper as I'd probably like. Let's go ahead and get this going. So now something we haven't gone over here yet, the red arrows are going to be your outputs of your machines. So machines that do spit out items for you, that's going to be these red arrows. And again, our yellow is for electric. Now, something you want to keep in mind with the asteroid catchers, on the opposite side of your electric is going to be your turret. And it's a little hard to see when you're actually placing the machine down. The turret can only move in a 180 degrees, so it can only go straight right, all the way around to straight left. I'll show you that here. So this is as far to the right as I can go. and this is as far to the left. So when you're laying down multiple asteroid catchers, which believe me, you guys will, you want to keep that turret in mind, because if you have all of your asteroid catchers pointed to the same area, you can run out of asteroids for them to catch. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 or 8 asteroids that we can actually currently target. So let's say I had, 4 or 5 asteroid catchers. Doing so, they're gonna have a hard time keeping asteroids, fed into the catcher at all times. Now, the asteroid catcher will catch one asteroid and put it into its belly of the building for processing, and then it can hang on to one of the asteroids. So basically, when this one gets done processing, it'll go ahead and pop that one in. Now, to do this, we are going to need power. Well, as ABOT is telling us, an asteroid will be processed only when electricity is provided. So in my case, you can put this furnace much closer to the asteroid catcher if you prefer. In my case, I'm kind of planning for automation and I need a little bit of room, but it does mean that basically my power is way across from my asteroid catcher. Now, you'll see later why that is and why I'm laying it out this way, but it does make things a little difficult when you're trying to get power across. What I've done here is I went ahead and researched destruction. The reason being is these wires, when you run them up top, tend to get in the way. You can't put conveyors through them. You end up having to get conveyors over them, and conveyors going up can be kind of slow. So I like to hide my cables the best I can by running them underneath. So I went ahead and got destruction, and I took out basically this top flat piece and then the bottom piece here, and ran the cables underneath all the way across. Now what this does is it'll allow me to drop in other items basically along this cable without really having to connect them up that much or make any more cable. I've kind of set up my run right off the bat. So now our asteroid catcher is rolling. You can see it's breaking this down. It's already broken one of these down already. And if you want to take your items out, you can hit control, click, and it'll grab the whole stack. You can hit transfer items here from your inventory. The only thing I don't like about this new transfer items for inventory, or at least I believe it's new because I haven't seen it until recently, I may have just been ignoring it, to be honest, is it tends to not stack items. So as you can see here, it put the coal or the carbon into a separate stack. If I were to do control click, it stacks it up. Now you can go in here and you can hit merge items in your inventory, but that just tends to be an extra step that I'd rather just click very quickly. And it's not like you're getting a bunch of resources. Now, in the asteroids, you can get iron, like we talked about. You can get copper, you can get carbon, you can get water. There are some rarer asteroids that float around, so like this guy way out here, that will give you gold. And I have gotten some gold. Gold is not, you don't really need it this early, but because it is a rarer asteroid, as you can see, there's one whole gold floating in the sky and it's way out there. It's kind of nice to grab it because once you need gold, which will be used for solar power, it's nice to have a collection of gold already. But that's completely up to you. You don't have to grab it yet. There are some easier ways to get gold a little later on. I just find it while I'm floating around and grabbing resources already, that if they swing by, I just go ahead and grab them. Now this one catcher is not going to be enough for us, so I'm going to go ahead and set up some more here. Now, as you can see, this guy, I put the turrets on this side, and what that's going to give me is this is going to cover that whole side, this is going to cover that whole side, and we're just going to have this little space between the two turrets that's not going to be covered in this part of the sky, but mostly we're covering the whole sky. Now, in the beginning, you do have to manually shoot and load these in, and eventually this will get automated. But don't forget, because it's super beneficial, just go ahead and get these guys going. I actually haven't wired this one up, so I'll show you how that's done. Just going to click on there and delete. And so we're going to throw a wire in there. Jump off the edge. And I actually need a wire here. As you can see, I'm just going to throw one there so it makes my nice 3 wires. And you can just click and drag. And now that's powered in. So it gives me a nice little power run. I only have to run, basically collect the resources to make that run once over there. But then after that, everything I drop into this vicinity is pretty easy to connect up. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop this asteroid catcher here. And this one here. Now what I've done is I've lined these up so that we have at least one space here. So what happens is this asteroid catcher and this asteroid catcher are going to pump out these outputs. And then we can run a conveyor going down here that's going to take all these materials and feed it into where we need to go. Now the asteroid catchers, they pretty much all your machines, while they're dumping out resources, they can get in the way of each other. I don't have enough for that. So let's take a look. Oh, there we go. Got a lovely amount of copper sitting in there. But they can get in the way. So like while this asteroid catcher is dumping out, so say it just processed, I don't know, 10 ores out of the asteroid, it's going to make this one, in most cases, wait while it unloads its 10 ores, which means this one may have enough time to like break down, let's say 2 asteroids and pump it out. But I generally don't find that they're so fast that they really get clogged up. So I don't see a point in adding a second conveyor. Now, if you want to, you could put you could space this out a bit more so that you can have a conveyor here and a conveyor here. But it's kind of a personal preference, just whatever you prefer. Now, don't forget, while you're collecting asteroids, make sure you're getting yourself some water, getting yourself some carbon. You do need to keep these powered, and you do need to breathe. Actually need that, more importantly, because that's only 2. Now, as I say you need to breathe, I'm realizing I'm running low on oxygen. So we're going to fill it there. And let's go ahead and take any carbon that we have and dump it in there just in time. Now, Abot is giving me a quest here for the destruction. It wants me to go ahead and make a recycling machine. When you destroy your resources, such as your buildings, your platforms, things like that, you can get the resources back, but you have to use a recycling machine to do so. So you don't get them back right away like you would see in some other survival games, crafting games. All right, so now we've got these guys hooked up. Let's get them grabbing us some resources. That's just ice. That's just ice. Don't need that at the moment. We do need some of that copper. That's got iron and copper. That's really nice. That's processing one already. Oh. Grab a little carbon, why not? And that's got some ice and carbon. So it can be a little tricky in the beginning, just keeping these things going, but that's okay. You don't need a ridiculous amount of materials in the beginning. So next thing we want to look at is we want to look at smelting. And Mr. Abot's going to pop up here. Where are you, buddy? You're hiding behind. And very easily, it just wants us to build a smelter. So now the way the smelter has 2 inputs. It also has an output, as you can see on the back. And then our electricity is on the left. Now, some of these buildings do kind of have weird inputs and outputs that can kind of mess with your production line. So before you set up your production line, you might want to take a look if you're planning on piping out the resources out of it automated, just so you can make sure that you're kind of covering yourself before you lay it down or before you set up a bunch of logistics tracks. Because on this smelter, it might be, input in the front, output in the back, but on another machine, it may be input in the front, output on the side, things like that. So just take a look at them before you plan for them. I'm going to just drop my smelter real quick here next to our catchers, because I think the 4 are going to do us pretty well for the time being. And I'm just going to go ahead and spin up a bunch of cables real quick. Let's grab some more copper, since we are using quite a bit. Copper. That's ice and copper. Very nice. And I don't really need... Oh, look, there's a nice little gold and iron. Grab that bad boy. And some more copper. So as you can see, not too bad to keep these guys going. And we get a nice amount of resources. And eventually we will be able to automate these. I'm going to try and get to the automation of these as quickly as possible. I think I emptied that guy out already. So now what I do want to do, and man, I should have done this a little bit sooner. Now that we have the smelter, I want to turn off the auto crafting. The reason why is this takes 2 iron per an iron bar, the same with copper. Whereas our smelter is going to take 3 iron per 2 bars. So basically a 1.5 ratio at the same amount of time. So we want to make sure that we are using our smelter now and throwing those items in there, just so we get a little extra bang for the buck of each thing we're collecting. And unfortunately, I took a little long to take those out. So Abot just wants us to craft some bars with our smelter. I do have everything turned on here. Oh, but it doesn't have any power. I didn't finish getting it hooked up here. And so as you can see, I was able to drop that down, connect it to the cable. And I don't even have to go underneath now. This guy's running all on his own. I'm going to grab some more resources here, since I was bad and left my handcrafting on for way too long. Grab that real quick. It was right on the edge. And our bars must be finished because Abot is yelling at me over there. Sure, we'll grab some carbon. And that's got some carbon in it. Make sure we keep carbon going. What you got for me, Abot? Oh, you're back to recycling. Okay, so we finished our quest with the smelting. So now what I'm going to do is I want to start getting some of this automation going to the smelter so I don't have to keep moving stuff around. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab these handcrafted plates. The reason we need handcrafted plates is we need plates for the conveyor belts. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our logistics. Now, one thing that I'm pretty sure have done within a few recent updates, is they've changed the way the smelter works. It used to be that the smelter would get stuck if you were putting things on a belt through it that it couldn't use for anything. So for instance, ice. It can't use ice in the smelter, of course. And by the way, you can throw all your resources in. They will all craft at the same time. So it's not like copper needs to be crafted before the iron. If you throw copper in there first, you can just throw all those guys in there and they will just get to going. So nowadays, you can actually put resources into the smelter without locking it up, which is really nice. And I believe I'm going to need quite a few of these. So let's go ahead and do 15. Now we also need 1 copper wire for each. So I'm just going to go ahead to make sure I still have some on hand. I'm going to go ahead and craft a few sets of those as well. And so then what we're going to do on your conveyor, you'll see that there's an arrow. And if you rotate it, that arrow will change. Now, these asteroid catchers, they will automatically push out the resources onto this block here. So we don't need to have a conveyor that's facing away from this machine to pull it out. It'll automatically push it on there. So what we're going to do is we are just going to, yep, I don't have enough resources. We're just going to pump all these resources going down here. And my plates are taking a few minutes here. So while we're waiting on those, let's catch some more real fast here. Ooh, some water and some iron. Is that going to be water and iron? That's water and carbon. We'll take it. Don't forget about your ice, guys. You definitely want to get your ice. It's so easy to forget to grab ice because you're so focused on iron and copper for your needs that you sometimes will forget about your carbon or your ice, and then you got to quickly fly out and get some because all your asteroid catchers, turned off because you didn't get carbon for them or things of that nature. All right, and in this one, we are going to go ahead and turn it that way because we do need to actually feed it into the machine. It won't grab it automatically. And that's so that you can push resources by it without it picking it up. Now, like I said before, they've changed the way the smelter, you used to have to, oops, I am missing one right here in the middle. They changed the way the smelter worked. You used to have to filter out ice because ice would get down here and go, oh no, I can't go into the smelter. And it would lock everything up. Now they have made it so it passes into the smelter, which is very nice. And now we've got the automation going from our asteroid catchers into the smelter. So now we don't have to keep moving all the items out. And as you can see, this guy waited for this one to unfill before it started pulling its resources out. So it can kind of slow it down a bit. Just as a heads up, if you want to go ahead and get it a bit fancier, you could put 2 belts. You put 1 belt on this side, 1 belt on this side so that they don't get caught up. But I don't find that it's at this stage that it is enough to really worry about. And later on, once you get a lot more asteroid catchers going, things of that nature, it actually helps to kind of limits the bandwidth of items that are feeding in. Grab our bars here. All right, so one more thing I'll go over before we finish this video, now that we've got our automation up, is let's go over the power network. So if you look into the carbon reactor, you'll see that it produces 10 every 30 seconds. And if we scroll over the bottom here, we can see that our production is 10 and our consumption is 0. And that's only for this machine. So this machine isn't consuming any power, but it is producing 10. Now at the bottom though, the electricity network, it shows currently what we're producing across everything that's connected. So you got your network comms and production. So that's consumption and production. So we're consuming 6 out of 10 and our network load is 60. Now, one cool thing about Astro Colony is if our network load gets over what we're consuming, our machines don't just stop. They will just continue to produce at a lower rate. So if you look here at the smelter, it's currently running at 100% efficiency because it has all the power that it needs. If we were to get over that 10 that we're currently producing with that reactor, then it will start producing at, 80% or 75%, things of that nature. We'll just make things a little bit slower, but they will all continue to work. They just won't work as well. So keep that in mind as you're building things up. You want to try and keep your network up, but in case you run into a problem and you can't, let's say you don't have enough carbon to run multiple reactors, it's perfectly fine. things are just going to run a little bit slower. On that note, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you do like the video, please, hit a like for me, hit a subscribe, drop that notification, and I'm going to try and have one of these up each week, at least one a week, and you'll start seeing more and more videos for me of other Let's Plays coming very, very soon. Oh, I'm running out of oxygen here. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.